or I should say was, beautiful land that can be beautiful once again. In 2020, Eisner Cove wetland was sold to a private interest. Prior to that, it was public land. Now, the private interest is working with Clayton Developments and the Shaw Group to destroy 45 hectares of forest belt. And they're also, we believe, because of what they're doing with removing the trees, and as David Patrickin has said, when they start clearing the trees, there's going to be siltation and other things that are going to get into the wetland and destroy it. It's all being done, as Claudia said, on a false narrative. A false narrative that the developer bought, or started, and the government had bought into. The false narrative is that the developers are building affordable housing. We know the facts. That's a farce. A housing crisis is something that I personally am aware of. I was homeless for 2 years. I couch surfed. Luckily, I had family and friends who lend me a somewhat comfortable cot and a roof over my head. The people who need the housing, wow. The people who need the housing in HRM and Nova Scotia are not the middle, as Kevin Neat from Clayton Development said, they're not the middle income earners who deserve to own a home. They're the people who live on the streets. They're the people who live in their cars. They're the single mother with 6 kids living in a 1-bedroom apartment. It's people like me who couch surfed. It's also people like the ones who used to live in Eisner Cove wetland but got evicted by the developer. They're the ones who need the housing, and that's it. The government is going about it the wrong way. They started with the middle class, and they're going to eventually, I guess, go to the people that need it, but they should be going the other way. Wow, I'm far ahead of myself here. That's the real narrative that this government needs to start listening to. 3 kilometers away, they've already started clear cutting. I'm guessing about 10 hectares. That leaves 35 hectares left for the animals and the plant life that call Eisner Cove wetland home. Where are those animals going to go once Clayton Development accomplishes their goal of deforestation? Well, let's go back to Mr. Neat again from Clayton Development, who said when he was asked at the February public meeting, the only public meeting that we've had on this development, when he was asked that, he said, oh, they'll just migrate elsewhere. With this government continuing to allow clear cutting happening in this province, animals aren't going to have anywhere to migrate to. So, you know, we prefer to deal with the animals as opposed to Mr. Neat's response of giving a flippant answer. Now, you know, we've made a lot of accusations that our opponents are saying are made up, false. But everything that we've said is documented. Unlike this government, who just seems to think you can swipe left if you don't like something that is being said. There's something called a Wetland Ecosystem Service Protocol, or a WESP. There was a WESP done a couple years ago by Ducks Unlimited. The summary of the WESP said there were rare water bird species and rare plants living in Eisner Cove wetland. But you know what? Minister Hellman never saw that document. So what's going to happen to them once this development is complete? The government had a chance to save and protect them, but the government just doesn't care. They have an agenda, they don't care. Then there are the birds that live in the wetland. We know that there are 45 bird species, 35 of which are on the migratory bird list. That list is a federal act that says thou shalt not do this, which is destroy forest, touch the forest when the birds are migrating. We have documented proof. I think I see Caroline here somewhere. I saw her. Took some video of a migratory bird nesting while 10, 20 feet away, they were ripping down trees. That's violation of the act. And again, the government just doesn't care. Clayton Development sure as hell doesn't care. You know what else? We've also been accused, I'm getting a lot of this, is I'm being accused of being a not in my backyard person, or NIMBY. An accusation that's too easily thrown around by supporters of the development against this, against us who are against this development. But I tell you, we now have a sign in Milton, Ontario, and we have a bumper sticker in Saskatchewan. You can't call them NIMBYs, because this is not their backyard.
Clayton Development's a NIMBY.
Yeah.
They don't want affordable housing in their other developments.
No, they don't.
They're totally NIMBY.
That's exactly right.
Biggest NIMBY.
So what are the issues? And I'm almost done. What are the issues? Thank you. Is it a housing versus the environment issue? No. We've been clear since the beginning. We actually think that we need housing, proper housing, in all of Nova Scotia to deal with the housing crisis. But you know what? The underlying issue is, as Claudia said, lack of transparency and democracy and openness in this government. The sale of this property was done, I'm trying to think of a polite word to say, so I'm just going to say insert word here. The previous government, the Liberal government, sold the property, but this current government is complacent in what's happening over at Eisner wetland. We've had questions since day one about the sale of the property. Questions such as the assessed value of 3 of the parcels that are being built to destroy the forest. For 5 years in a row, the assessed value, which is on the Nova Scotia Property Assessments webpage, held fast for 5 years. Then what happens the 10 days before the sale of the property? The sale price drops, the property assessed value drops 80%.
Shame!
Oh, shame indeed. That was the word I didn't want to use. Thank you, Dee Dee. Now, we were interested in the history of the sale. So I did a FOIPOC with a Nova Corp who owned the property. It's a Crown corporation. And I got a slap in the face with the $3,800 fee they were going to charge me, which is just shameful for a everyday taxpayer. I've since revised that, and I've asked them for another FOIPOC, and luckily we now have a very, very major international corporation that is supporting us and has donated quite a lot of money to us. But they, unlike some other corporations, have asked us to keep it confidential. It speaks to the management and protection of our natural environment. Whether you live in northern Nova Scotia, the Southwest, Cape Breton, or anywhere else in between, you should have a deep concern how your government is treating Crown land. I want to end with a thank you to Darlene Gilbert for coming and giving the prayer song and introduction. I will say this is the first time in my life, I've lived in Nova Scotia for 17 years. This is the first time that I've lived here that I actually found myself trying to connect with my Mi'kmaq ancestors. So that was very moving for me. Claudia, I hope you can hear me. I'm thanking you as well for tabling the petition. She did a great job.
Thank you, Claudia!
Thank you to David. I'm going to pass the microphone over to David in a moment to speak. And a big thank you to you, because without you, without the supporters, we'd just be some people talking in the wilderness, but you're allowing us to have a voice. I'm going to close with one thing, and I heard this today and I just paraphrased it. History is written by the victors. Let's not let the Shaw Group, Clayton Development, and the Houston government be the ones to write the history of how this fight is going to end. Let's write that history and let's be the victors. Thank you.